Good morning, everybody. My name's Duncan Emerton, and I'm the Senior Director at First Word. I'm talking today to Sorcha Cassidy about a forthcoming report, Payer Insights Rheumatoid Arthritis. So Sorcha, anti-TNF biosimilars have been available in Europe since February 2015. According to payers, how much of an impact have these biosimilars had in the RA treatment landscape?
Thanks, Duncan. Well, in Europe, the anti-TNF biosimilars have had a significant impact so far. Celltrion's infliximab biosimilar, CTP13, became the first anti-TNF biosimilar launched in major EU countries in 2015. This biosimilar product was originally launched as two brands, Infliximab from Hospira, now Pfizer, and Remsima by Celltrion. This was soon followed by the approval of Samsung Biogen's biosimilar, etanercept Benepali, the following year. That was in January 2016. Benepali was the first subcutaneous anti-TNF biosimilar to be approved in the EU. So, payers from the UK and France state that biosimilar infliximab has had a pretty significant impact to date. One UK payer stated that almost all patients have been switched to the infliximab biosimilar product, and up to 75% have been switched to an etanercept biosimilar. One French payer stated that in France, nearly all patients have been switched over to the infliximab biosimilar in the hospital setting, and therefore the majority of savings have only really been in the secondary care setting so far. Out of the 5 major EU markets, Germany has been perhaps viewed as one of the most favourable markets for biosimilar adoption, and this has been reflected in payer opinions. German payers state that target prescribing quotas for biosimilars may become increasingly common, and one payer stated that the current quota allowance for biosimilar usage is somewhere between 30 to 40%. This is expected to increase to 70 or 80% following the launch of more biosimilar products in the next few years. Also, in Germany, positive financial incentives are being put in place to encourage biosimilar uptake, and physicians may benefit from insurance savings by positively exceeding the biosimilar target quota.
Okay, so the general situation is that experience has been positive with biosimilar infliximab in Europe, but I guess everybody's looking at how things are going to play out in the US. Pfizer's Inflectra, which is an infliximab biosimilar as well, is expected to be launched in the US this month. So how are payers preparing for the imminent biosimilar launch?
Yes, it's very exciting in the US at the moment. Pfizer's infliximab biosimilar Inflectra is likely to be the first anti-TNF biosimilar product to reach the US market, and it was also the first anti-TNF biosimilar to be approved by the FDA. Indeed, in October 2016, Pfizer announced that Inflectra will be launched by sometime in November 2016 at a discounted price of 15% to the current wholesaler acquisition cost of Remicade. So, while awareness of biosimilars in the US is steadily growing, the payers that we interviewed expect the adoption to be moderate initially. Overall, the US payers do highly welcome the approval and launch of numerous anti-TNF biosimilars and hope that they will create a very competitive and dynamic space in terms of pricing. However, the US market will be more difficult to penetrate than Europe, and pricing negotiations with drug manufacturers will determine the success of biosimilars. In general, payers will require significant reduction in price to favour biosimilars. In terms of preparing for Inflectra's launch, US payers have not prepared extensively as of yet. They state that strategies will only be implemented post-launch due to the high variability in launch dates. Most importantly, payers will wait for manufacturer pricing information before making any major contracting or formulary changes.
Okay, so you mentioned Pfizer's pricing strategy for its biosimilar infliximab. They've mentioned that they will be discounting it 15% compared to Remicade. I guess really what I'm trying to understand is what types of discounts for anti-TNF biosimilars are expected by payers, and is 15% enough?
Yes, in general, payers will require a significant reduction in price to favour biosimilars, and the majority are optimistic that deep discounts with biosimilars will eventually be achieved. So Sandoz Zarxio, a filgrastim biosimilar, was the first biosimilar marketed in the US, and it was priced at a 15% discount. The majority of US payers stress that they would like to see price discounts to be steeper than what was offered with Zorxio. Therefore, the discounts need to be a minimum of 15%, but a 20 to 30% discount would be greatly desired. Payers state that if biosimilar discounts are less than the 10 to 15% range, this will not lead to great savings in the long term. Overall, they are optimistic that deeper discounts of at least 40 to 50% will eventually be achieved with biosimilars. And they make reference to the deep discounts that have been observed in certain Nordic countries such as Denmark and Norway. Other payers that we interviewed were quite cautious about their expectations and stated that various rebate schemes may make it more difficult for the biosimilars to penetrate the US market. Abrys Humira certainly has a huge market share and it's used across multiple indications. So payers state that it will be more difficult to make large formulary changes and turn their backs on these high rebates for those branded products if the biosimilar discounts are lower than expected. Overall, payers state that if biosimilars aren't significantly cheaper compared to the brand, they are unlikely to experience rapid market adoption. However, most of the payers are optimistic that biosimilars will curb the increasing drug costs of branded products over the next 5 years. So, to conclude, without the deep discounts, payers stress there will be more of a challenge to implement any major changes in the short term.
Okay, Sorcha, thanks very much. To all of those who are listening, please click on the links below to understand a little bit more about the report, to request some sample pages, and to get an understanding of the types of payer that we've interviewed.